in the vast, echoing halls of the Interstellar Academy on the shimmering world of Zerathia, where stars seemed to whisper secrets through the crystalline domes, the air hummed with anticipation. Commander Vorak, a towering figure with scales that gleamed like polished obsidian, slammed his fist against the podium, his voice booming like thunder across the assembled cadets. "Choose a friend to form a team," he bellowed, his eyes scanning the rows of beings from across the galaxy, sleek felines from Nytheria, ethereal wisps from Lunara, and even the hulking brutes from Xandor. The room fell into a frenzy of murmurs and quick alliances forged in the heat of ambition and survival. But then, in that charged silence that followed his command, all eyes turned to her Princess Lyra of Zerathia, the fox-like heir to the throne, her white hair cascading like fresh snow over her porcelain skin, her small, pointed ears twitching with a mix of mischief and grace. She wore a gown that hugged her curvaceous form, silken fabrics that shimmered with embedded starlight, revealing just enough to command attention without uttering a word. Lyra's gaze swept the room, her emerald eyes sparkling with an unspoken challenge. The aliens around her shifted uncomfortably, whispering about her reputation, the cunning princess who could outwit a black hole, whose beauty was as dangerous as her intellect. She was no ordinary royal. Rumors swirled of her adventures in forbidden sectors, where she tamed wild nebulae and negotiated with rogue AIs. But today, in this mandatory team-building exercise designed to forge warriors for the Galactic Alliance, she ignored the eager suitors from her own kind, the polished diplomats and fierce guardians who vied for her favor. Instead, her finger pointed straight to the back row, where a lone figure slouched against the wall, arms crossed, seemingly oblivious to the chaos. Him, the earthling. Kai Thompson, a human from that backwater planet called Terra, with tousled dark hair, sharp blue eyes that held the quiet storm of someone who'd seen too much, and a lean, athletic build honed not from luxury but from sheer grit. He wasn't like the others, no flashy augmentations, no telepathic links or energy shields. Just a man, unassuming in his standard-issue jumpsuit, who had somehow earned a spot in this elite program through raw determination and a string of improbable victories in the qualifying sims. The room went deathly silent, a hush so profound it felt like the vacuum of space had seeped in. Aliens exchanged glances. Why him? The fragile human, from a death world where gravity crushed bones and predators lurked in every shadow. Lyra's choice was a scandal, a spark in a powder keg. Kai blinked, straightening up as the weight of 100 stares bore down on him. He hadn't expected this hell, he hadn't expected to last this long in the academy. Back on Earth, he'd been a pilot, dodging asteroids in the outer colonies, living hand to mouth until the Alliance recruiters spotted his unyielding survival instincts. "Me?" he muttered, his voice cutting through the quiet like a laser. Lyra nodded, a sly smile playing on her lips, her tail subtle and fox-like, hidden beneath her gown swishing with excitement. The commander cleared his throat, his scales rattling. "Very well, princess, teams are set. The trial begins at dawn. Survive the void maze, or don't come back." As the cadets dispersed, whispers erupted into a cacophony. "She's mad," hissed a tentacled being from Velquar. "Humans are breakable. What does she see in that primate?" But Lyra sauntered over to Kai, her hips swaying with an effortless allure that made the air around her feel charged. Up close, she was even more captivating. Her skin glowed faintly, a bioluminescent trait of her species, and her scent was like wildflowers mixed with ozone, intoxicating. "Earthling," she purred, her voice a melody that wrapped around him like silk. "Kai, isn't it? I've watched you in The Sims. You don't play by the rules, that's why I chose you." Kai raised an eyebrow, trying to mask his surprise. "Princess Lyra, honored I guess. But why not one of your own? I'm just a guy from Earth, no fancy powers, no royal blood." She laughed, a sound like tinkling crystals, leaning in closer so he could feel the warmth radiating from her. "Exactly. You're kind, you're unpredictable. Resilient. I've read the archives. Humans have survived apocalypses, tamed beasts, even turned poison into pleasure. In a maze full of traps and illusions, I need someone who thinks like a survivor, not a strategist." Her eyes locked onto his, a spark of curiosity igniting something deeper, something that made Kai's pulse quicken. Was it the thrill of the unknown, or the way her gaze seemed to peel away his defenses? They spent the evening preparing, the Academy's sprawling gardens serving as their makeshift camp under Zerathia's twin moons. Lyra explained the void maze, a labyrinth of shifting dimensions, where gravity flipped, illusions preyed on fears, and ancient guardians tested the soul. It's not just about strength, she said, her fingers brushing his arm as she handed him a holographic map. The touch sent a jolt through him, electric and unfamiliar. It's about trust. And I trust you, Kai. More than these polished aliens who bow and scrape. He chuckled, feeling a warmth spread in his chest. Trust a human? Bold move. We have a saying, curiosity killed the cat. But you're more fox than cat, aren't you? As night deepened, they shared stories. Lyra spoke of her kingdom's endless intrigues, the pressure of being the heir, always one step from betrayal. Key recounted Earth's wild history, wars, explorations, loves lost in the stars. Their laughter echoed, drawing envious glances from other teams. But beneath the camaraderie, tension simmered. Lyra's proximity was deliberate, her hand lingered on his shoulder, her eyes tracing the lines of his face. Humans are fascinating, she whispered, her breath warm against his ear. So warm-blooded, so alive. Kai swallowed, the air thick with unspoken possibilities. This wasn't just a team. It was the start of something cosmic, a bond forged in the fires of the unexpected. Dawn broke with a symphony of alarms, and the teams assembled at the maze entrance, a swirling portal of dark energy that hummed like a living beast. Commander Vorak's voice crackled over the comms. Enter. Adapt, conquer. Kai and Lyra stepped through first, the world twisting around them. Colors inverted, gravity tugged sideways, and shadows whispered doubts. Stay close, Kai said, grabbing her hand. It was soft yet strong, fitting perfectly in his. Lyra squeezed back, her heart racing not from fear, but from the thrill of this human's touch. Inside, the maze unfolded like a nightmare dreamscape. Walls of liquid metal shifted, forming dead ends that screamed with phantom winds. Illusions assaulted them, visions of Lyra's throne crumbling, Kai's earth engulfed in flames. But Kai's human ingenuity shone through. When a gravity well threatened to crush them, he improvised a counterweight from debris, his muscles straining as he pulled Lyra to safety. See, no powers needed, just physics and stubbornness. She gazed at him in awe, her body pressed against his in the narrow escape. You're more than that, Kai, you're heroic. As they delved deeper, the challenges escalated. A swarm of holographic predators lunged, claws of light slashing the air. Lyra's energy blade hummed to life, her movements a dance of lethal grace, but the numbers overwhelmed her. Kai charged in, using his bare hands and a makeshift staff from a fallen branch, Earth-style improvisation. He bashed one illusion after another, his shouts echoing as he protected her flank. Blood trickled from a gash on his arm, but he grinned through the pain. Come on, princess, we've got this. Lyra fought beside him, her admiration blooming into something warmer, more intimate. Hours blurred into a haze of adrenaline. They rested in a rare safe alcove, Lyra tending his wound with a healing gel from her kit. Her fingers traced his skin, lingering longer than necessary. Why do you fight so hard? She asked softly. For glory? For home? Kai met her eyes, the bioluminescence in her skin casting a soft glow. For the people who matter. And right now that's you. The moment hung between them, charged with possibility. She leaned in, her lips brushing his in a tentative kiss, a spark that ignited galaxies within. But the maze wasn't done. A massive guardian emerged, a colossal entity of shadow and code, its roar shaking the foundations. Prove your worth, it thundered. Kai and Lyra stood together, her cunning mind devising a plan while his unyielding spirit executed it. They lured the beast into a dimensional rift, Chi baiting it with taunts while Lyra hacked the controls. As it fell, the maze stabilized, victory within reach. Yet, in that triumph, Lyra felt a pull she couldn't ignore. This human had awakened something in her, a desire for more than alliance, for a connection that transcended species. As they emerged from the portal, cheers erupting from the crowd, she whispered, "This is just the beginning, Kai." He smiled, pulling her close. The galaxy watched, but in that moment, it was just them, human and fox princess, bound by fate's whimsical thread. The celebration that followed was a whirlwind of lights and music in Zerathia's grand halls, but for Kai and Lyra, it was a mere backdrop to their growing bond. As they slipped away to a private balcony overlooking the nebula-strewn skies, the air between them crackled with unspoken words. Lyra's gown caught the moonlight, accentuating her curves, her small ears perking up as she turned to him. "You saved me in there," she murmured, her voice laced with a vulnerability she rarely showed. Kai shrugged, his hand finding hers again. We saved each other, that's what teams do. But it was more than that, and they both knew it. The kiss in the maze had been a taste, a promise of depths unexplored. Now, alone under the stars, Lyra stepped closer, her body radiating warmth that seeped through his clothes. Humans are so tactile, she said, her fingers trailing up his arm, exploring the contours of muscle earned from Earth's harsh trials. Kai's breath hitched, the sensation sending shivers down his spine. And you're like a dream made real. He cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek, feeling the faint glow beneath her skin. Their lips met again, this time with hunger. Lyra's kiss was fierce yet tender, her fox-like instincts making her playful, nipping gently at his lower lip. Kai responded in kind, his hands wandering to her waist, pulling her against him. The fabric of her gown was thin, almost ethereal, allowing him to feel every curve, every subtle movement. She gasped softly as his touch grew bolder, sliding down her back, tracing the line of her spine. Kai, she whispered, her voice husky with desire. Show me what it means to be human. He obliged, guiding her to a cushioned lounger overlooking the void. The stars bore witness as they explored each other, clothes shedding like unnecessary barriers. Lyra's body was a marvel soft where it counted, firm in ways that spoke of her royal training. Her white hair fanned out like a halo, her emerald eyes half-lidded in bliss. Kai's kisses trailed down her neck, eliciting moans that echoed softly in the night. She arched into him, her hands clutching his shoulders, nails digging in just enough to heighten the sensation. In that intimate dance, they discovered harmonies between their worlds. Lyra's bioluminescence pulsed with her pleasure, casting flickering lights across Kai's skin. He moved with a rhythm born of passion, attentive to her every sigh, every quiver. You're incredible, he murmured against her ear, his voice rough with emotion. She wrapped her legs around him, drawing him closer, their connection deepening into something profound, a fusion of bodies and souls that defied galactic norms. As the night wore on, their lovemaking was a symphony of whispers and touches, building to crescendos that left them breathless. Lyra's cries were muffled against his shoulder, her body trembling in release. Kai held her through it all, his own climax a wave that crashed over him, binding them in shared ecstasy. Afterward they lay entwined, her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his human heart. This is what I've been missing, she confessed, tracing patterns on his skin. Kai smiled, kissing her forehead. And we've only just started. But even in this bliss, the shadows of the academy loomed. Whispers of jealousy from other cadets reached their ears. How dare a mere earthling claim the princess's favor? Yet, for now, in the afterglow, the universe felt conquerable. But even in this bliss, the shadows of the academy loomed. Whispers of jealousy from other cadets reached their ears. How dare a mere earthling claim the princess's favor? Yet, for now, in the afterglow, the universe felt conquerable. Kai traced lazy circles on Lyra's back, her skin still humming with that faint, ethereal glow that pulsed in rhythm with her breaths. She nestled closer, her white hair spilling over his chest like a cascade of moonlight, her small, pointed ears flicking slightly at the distant sounds of the celebration below. The balcony overlooked the swirling nebulae of Zerathia, stars winking like conspirators in their secret rendezvous. But as the night air cooled, a subtle tension crept in, like the first crack in a flawless crystal. Lyra lifted her head, her emerald eyes meeting his with an intensity that made Kai's heart skip. We can't stay hidden forever, she murmured, her voice a velvet whisper that sent shivers down his spine. Her fingers danced lightly over his collarbone, exploring the human contours that fascinated her, so the way his muscles tensed under her touch, the warmth of his skin unfiltered by any alien enhancements. The others, they'll talk. Plot even. My choice in the maze has stirred the hive. Kai pulled her up gently, their bodies aligning in a way that reignited the sparks from earlier. Let them talk, he replied, his lips brushing her forehead. We've proven ourselves once. We can do it again. But even as he said it, a shadow of doubt flickered in his mind. The academy wasn't just about trials, it was a web of politics, where alliances could shatter like glass under the wrong pressure. As if summoned by her words, a soft chime echoed from Lyra's wrist communicator, a sleek band embedded with glowing runes. She glanced at it, her expression shifting from contentment to wariness. It's my advisor, she said, sitting up slightly, the silken gown slipping off one shoulder to reveal the smooth curve of her pale skin. Kai's gaze lingered there, drawn to the way her bioluminescence danced like fireflies beneath the surface, inviting his touch once more. But she pressed a finger to his lips, her own curving into a mischievous smile. Not now. This can wait. With a flick of her hand, she silenced the device, but the interruption had planted a seed of suspense, a reminder that their stolen moment was fragile. They rose together, the cool breeze teasing at their bare forms before they gathered their clothes. Lyra moved with a graceful fluidity, her tail now visible in the dim light, a soft, fox-like appendage that swayed hypnotically, brushing against his leg as she dressed. The contact was electric, a deliberate tease that made Kai reach for her again. He pulled her back into his arms, his hands settling on her hips, feeling the heat building between them anew. "You're playing with fire, princess," he growled softly, his voice laced with desire. She laughed, low and throaty, pressing her body against his. "And you're the flame, earthling, burn me." Their kiss deepened, tongues tangling in a dance of urgency, her hands roaming over his back, nails grazing just enough to elicit a gasp from him. But the night held more than passion, it whispered dangers. As they made their way back through the academy's winding corridors, hand in hand, shadows seemed to elongate, watching them. Lyra's ears twitched at faint footsteps echoing behind, too deliberate to be coincidence. "Someone's following," she whispered, her grip tightening on Kai's hand. He nodded, his human instincts kicking in the same ones that had kept him alive in Earth's unforgiving outposts. They quickened their pace, ducking into a side alcove shrouded by holographic vines. Pressed against the wall, bodies close, the erotic tension mingled with suspense. Kai could feel her heartbeat racing against his chest, her breath warm on his neck. "Who?" he asked quietly, his hand sliding protectively around her waist. "Could be anyone," Lyra replied, her voice barely audible. "Rivals from Xandor, or even my own court. They see you as a threat, a human ascending too quickly." Her eyes gleamed in the low light, a mix of fear and excitement that only heightened the intimacy of the moment. Kai leaned in, his lips finding the sensitive spot just below her ear, where her skin was softest. She shivered, arching into him despite the peril. "Then let's give them something to really talk about," he murmured, his fingers tracing the edge of her gown, slipping beneath to caress the curve of her thigh. The touch was bold, igniting a fire that made her moan softly, her hands clutching his shirt as if to anchor herself. The footsteps grew closer, pausing just beyond their hiding spot. Lyra's bioluminescence flared brighter in her arousal, casting a soft glow that threatened to betray them. Kai covered her mouth gently with his hand, his other exploring further, fingers dancing along her inner thigh, teasing the heat he found there. Her eyes widened, pupils dilating with a potent mix of suspense and desire. The intruder's presence lingered, a shadow passing by, but in that frozen moment, their world narrowed to each other, the way her body responded to his touch, hips shifting subtly to invite more, her muffled breaths hot against his palm. Finally the footsteps faded, leaving only the hum of the Academy's systems. Lyra pulled his hand away, capturing his lips in a fierce kiss, her tongue exploring with renewed hunger. "You're dangerous," she gasped when they broke apart, her cheeks flushed. Kai grinned, his arousal evident as he pressed against her. "Only to those who get in our way." They slipped out of the alcove, hearts pounding from the dual thrill of evasion and intimacy. The corridors led them to Lyra's private quarters, a lavish suite overlooking the planet's auroral skies. The door sealed behind them with a soft hiss, locking out the world. Inside, the room was a sanctuary of opulence, plush fabrics in deep crimsons and golds, holographic stars twinkling on the ceiling. Lyra turned to him, her gown slipping further, revealing the full allure of her form, curves that begged to be explored, skin that glowed invitingly. "No more interruptions," she declared, her voice sultry as she backed toward the bed, beckoning him with a finger. Kai followed, shedding his jumpsuit along the way, his eyes locked on hers. The air thickened with anticipation, each step building the suspense like a coiled spring. He reached her, hands framing her face as he kissed her deeply, then trailed down her neck, savoring the taste of her skin, slightly sweet, like exotic nectar. Lyra's hands roamed his chest, fingers tracing the scars from old battles, each one a story that fascinated her. "Tell me about this one," she whispered, her touch lingering on a faded mark across his ribs. Kai's response was a low chuckle, his mouth finding her collarbone. "Later. Right now, I want to learn every inch of you." He eased her gown off completely, letting it pool at her feet, exposing her to his gaze. She stood unashamed, her body a masterpiece of alien elegance, full breasts that rose with each breath, hips that swayed enticingly, and that subtle tail curling around her leg like an invitation. Kai's hands cupped her breasts, thumbs circling the sensitive peaks, drawing a gasp from her. Her bioluminescence intensified, pulsing in waves that matched her rising pleasure. She pushed him onto the bed, straddling him with a predatory grace, her white hair falling around them like a curtain. "My turn," she purred, grinding against him slowly, the friction building an exquisite tension. Kai groaned, his hands gripping her thighs, feeling the strength beneath her softness. The erotic dance continued, her movements deliberate, teasing him to the edge without mercy. Suspense wove through their passion as distant alarms flickered in Kai's mind. Were they truly alone? But Lyra's touch banished doubts, her lips traveling down his torso, exploring with kisses that grew bolder. She paused at his waist, her emerald eyes meeting his with a wicked gleam. "Humans are so responsive," she teased, her hand wrapping around him, stroking with a rhythm that made stars explode behind his eyelids. Kai's back arched, a moan escaping as he tangled his fingers in her hair. The room filled with their shared breaths, the suspense of what came next heightening every sensation. She climbed higher, positioning herself above him, lowering slowly until they connected in a rush of heat and fullness. Lyra's head fell back, a soft cry echoing as she began to move, her hips rolling in a hypnotic pattern. Kai matched her, thrusting upward, their bodies syncing in perfect harmony. The erotic intensity built, sweat glistening on their skin, her glow illuminating the passion etched on his face. Whispers of endearment slipped from her lips, words in her native tongue that sounded like poetry, mingled with his name like a mantra. But even here, in the depths of ecstasy, a subtle undercurrent of danger lingered. A faint vibration from the communicator on the floor caught Kisai mid-thrust, but Lyra's pace quickened, drawing him back into the moment. "Ignore it," she commanded breathlessly, her nails digging into his shoulders. He did, flipping them so he was above her, driving deeper, eliciting cries that grew louder, more urgent. The bed creaked under their fervor, the room a cocoon of sensation where time suspended. As climax approached, the suspense peaked, not just of release, but of what lay beyond this night. Lyra's body tensed, her glow blazing like a supernova, and she shattered around him, pulling Kai over the edge with her. They collapsed together, limbs entangled, breaths ragged. In the quiet aftermath, Lyra traced his jawline, her eyes soft yet shadowed. "This bond, it changes everything," she whispered. Kai held her close, unaware of the storm brewing outside their door, where jealous eyes plotted in the dark. The hours stretched, their bodies recovering only to entwine again, each encounter laced with growing intimacy. Lyra's curiosity about human endurance led to playful explorations, her tail wrapping around his leg in a possessive curl, her lips mapping forgotten spots that made him shudder. Kai, in turn, discovered her sensitivities, the base of her ears, where a gentle nibble drew whimpers, the curve of her back, arching under his palms. Their lovemaking was a blend of tenderness and fire, suspense building with every pause, every whispered promise of more. Yet, as dawn's light filtered through the windows, a knock shattered the illusion. Lyra froze in his arms, her ears perking alertly. "Stay here," she said, slipping from the bed, wrapping a robe around her glowing form. Kai watched her go, the erotic haze giving way to a knot of worry in his gut. Who was at the door, friend or foe? The answer would test their fledgling bond, pulling them deeper into the galaxy's intricate web. Yet as dawn's light filtered through the windows, a knock shattered the illusion. Lyra froze in his arms, her ears perking alertly. "Stay here," she said, slipping from the bed, wrapping a robe around her glowing form. Kai watched her go, the erotic haze giving way to a knot of worry in his gut. Who was at the door? Friend or foe? The answer would test their fledgling bond, pulling them deeper into the galaxy's intricate web. He slid out of bed silently, pulling on his pants, his senses sharpening like they did back on Earth's frontier outposts, where every rustle could mean death. The room's opulent calm felt suddenly oppressive, the holographic stars on the ceiling now mocking their brief sanctuary. Lyra approached the door with the poise of a royal trained for intrigue, her tail curling tensely beneath the robe. She activated the viewer panel, a holographic display flickering to life, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows, a tall, hooded alien with iridescent scales that shifted colors like oil on water. "Advisor Thorn," she whispered, her voice steady but edged with caution. Kai moved closer, positioning himself just out of sight, his hand instinctively reaching for a nearby ornamental dagger on the nightstand. It wasn't much, but in a pinch, human improvisation had turned worse into weapons. The door hissed open, and Thorn stepped in, his eyes cold, multifaceted orbs darting around the room before settling on Lyra. "Your Highness," he intoned, his voice a gravelly hiss that echoed like wind through caverns. "The Council demands your presence." Rumors spread like nebula dust. "Your choice in the maze has ignited unrest." Lyra straightened, her chin lifting defiantly, the robe clinging to her curves in a way that still stirred Kai's blood despite the tension. "Unrest? Or jealousy, Thorn? Speak plainly." The advisor's scales rippled uneasily, a sign of agitation among his kind from the shadowy world of Dravex. "The human. He's an anomaly. Whispers say he's bewitched you. The throne's stability hangs by a thread." Kai's blood boiled at the accusation, but he held back, curiosity gnawing at him. Bewitched. It was almost laughable, yet thrilling in its absurdity. Him, a mere earthling, ensnaring a princess? But as Thorn spoke, a dramatic undercurrent revealed itself, plots within plots, alliances fracturing. Lyra's eyes flashed with emerald fire. "Bewitched? Hardly. He's proven more worthy than any of your scheming courtiers." Thorn leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Then prove it further. A challenge has been issued, a duel in the arena of stars. Refuse, and the Council will deem you unfit." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap, sending a thrill through Kai's veins. A duel. In the legendary arena, where gravity fields warped reality and warriors from across the stars clashed for honor. It was the climax of Academy lore, a place where reputations were forged or shattered. Lyra's face paled slightly, her bioluminescence dimming, but she nodded. "Who challenges?" Thorn's lips curled into a sly grin, revealing rows of needle teeth. "Prince Zoltar of Xandor. He claims your choice insults the Galactic Order, pairing royalty with a Deathworld primitive." Kai stepped forward then, unable to stay hidden, his presence surprising Thorn into a defensive stance. "Primitive? Tell that to the maze guardian I helped bury." The advisor's eyes widened, multifaceted reflections capturing Kai's defiant stance. "You're here." Lyra placed a hand on Kai's arm, her touch a grounding force amid the rising drama. "He is, and he'll stand with me." Thorn recovered quickly, his scales settling into a neutral hue. "The duel is at midday. Teams of 2 champion and second. Fail, and exile awaits." With that, he bowed curtly and vanished into the corridor, leaving a wake of suspense that thickened the air. Kay turned to Lyra, his heart pounding with a mix of adrenaline and curiosity. "A duel? For what, your honor?" "Mine." She pulled him close, her robe falling open slightly, revealing the glow of her skin that now pulsed erratically with emotion. "For us," she said, her voice trembling yet resolute. "Zoltar has coveted my throne's alliance for cycles. This is his move to discredit me and eliminate you." The revelation hit like a plasma bolt, thrilling in its stakes, surprising in its depth. Kai had thought the maze was the test. Now, the real climax loomed, a galactic showdown where love and survival intertwined. They dressed hurriedly, the intimacy of the night fueling their resolve. Lyra donned her combat attire, a form-fitting suit of adaptive armor that hugged her body like a second skin, accentuating her graceful form while shimmering with defensive fields. Kai opted for his Earth-style gear-reinforced jumpsuit, utility belt stocked with gadgets scavenged from the Academy's labs. As they made their way to the arena, the corridors buzzed with cadets and dignitaries, whispers turning to stares. "The princess and her pet human," one sneered. Kai ignored them, his focus sharpening, curiosity burning about Zoltar's true motives. The Arena of Stars was a marvel of engineering, a colossal dome open to the cosmos, where artificial gravity wells created floating platforms, swirling vortices, and illusionary hazards. Spectators filled the tiers, a sea of alien faces from every corner of the galaxy, their murmurs building to a dramatic roar as Lyra and Kai entered. Across the field, Prince Zoltar awaited, a hulking brute from Xandor, his body a mass of armored muscle, tentacles writhing from his shoulders like living whips. His second was a sleek assassin type from Nethuria, eyes glowing with predatory intent. "Princess," Zoltar boomed, his voice amplified by the arena's systems, "surrender the human, and this ends peacefully." Lyra stepped forward, her tail lashing defiantly. "Never. He is my chosen." The crowd gasped, the thrill of rebellion electric in the air. Commander Vorak, officiating from a hovering podium, raised his hand. "The rules: teams battle until submission or incapacitation. No fatalities by honor's code." "Begin." Gravity shifted instantly, platforms rising and falling like waves in a storm. Kai and Lyra leaped onto a central dais, the world tilting thrillingly around them. Zoltar's tentacles lashed out first, extending across the void to snag Lyra's ankle. She twisted mid-air, her energy blade igniting in a blaze of light, severing the appendage with a sizzle. The crowd erupted, the drama unfolding in heart-pounding surges. Kai dodged a volley of energy darts from the assassin, his human agility honed on Earth's uneven terrains allowing him to flip between platforms. "Lyra, incoming," he shouted as Zoltar charged, the prince's bulk defying gravity to barrel toward them. She nodded, and in a surprising maneuver, they linked arms, using Kai's momentum to swing her around like a pendulum. Her blade slashed across Zoltar's armor, sparks flying in a shower of brilliance. But the prince countered, his remaining tentacles wrapping around Kai, squeezing with bone-crushing force. Pain exploded in Kai's ribs, but he grinned through it. Humans were built for endurance, for pushing past limits that broke others. Curiosity fueled his fight. What drove Zoltar so fiercely? As the grip tightened, Kai spotted a glint on the prince's neck, a pendant pulsing with forbidden tech, perhaps a mind amplifier. "Lyra, the necklace, it's cheating," he gasped. Her eyes widened in surprise, the revelation adding a layer of intrigue to the chaos. She vaulted over a gravity rift, landing on Zoltar's back, her fingers clawing at the device. The assassin intervened, claws raking toward her, but Kai broke free with a surge of adrenaline, tackling the foe mid-leap. They tumbled into a vortex, the world spinning in disorienting swirls. The climax built relentlessly, platforms colliding, energy blasts lighting the dome like fireworks. Kai wrestled the assassin, using a makeshift chokehold from Earth martial arts, the creature's eyes bulging in shock at the primitive technique's effectiveness. Lyra yanked the pendant free, crushing it under her boot. Zoltar roared in fury, his enhancements failing, strength waning. "You insignificant pest," he snarled at Kai, lunging one final time. But together, Lyra and Kai outmaneuvered him, her cunning directing his raw power. Kai delivered a stunning blow to the prince's jaw, human knuckles cracking against alien plating, while Lyra's blade disarmed him completely. The arena fell silent, then exploded in cheers as Zoltar slumped, submitting with a grudging nod. Vorak's voice boomed victory to Princess Lyra and her champion. The thrill of triumph washed over them, but curiosity lingered. What secrets had the pendant held? As they embraced amid the roaring crowd, sweat slicked and breathless, a surprising transmission crackled over the comms. "This is only the beginning. The true threat awakens." From whom? The message vanished, leaving a dramatic hook in the air, their bond stronger, the galaxy's mysteries deepening. Exhausted yet exhilarated, they retreated to the medbay, where healers tended their wounds. Lyra leaned against Kai, her glow steady now, a beacon of their shared victory. "You were magnificent," she whispered, her hand slipping into his, but the anonymous warning gnawed at him, thrilling in its implications. Who was the true threat? A rival kingdom? A hidden faction? The curiosity burned, surprising even Lyra when Kai voiced it. "We'll face it together," she vowed, sealing the promise with a kiss that reignited the fire between them. As the day waned, rumors swirled anew, not of scandal, but of legend. The human who tamed the stars, the princess who defied tradition. Yet, in quiet moments, Kai pondered the pendant's fragments, analyzed in the lab traces of ancient code, hinting at a forgotten empire stirring. The drama escalated inwardly. What if their union had awakened something cosmic? Thrilling possibilities unfolded, surprises lurking in every shadow. Their celebration that evening was private, bodies entwining once more, but now laced with the edge of impending adventure. Lyra's touches were fervent, her curiosity about his resilience leading to explorations that blended passion with wonder. "How do you endure so much?" she murmured, her fingers tracing his bruises. Kai pulled her closer, the thrill of the unknown heightening every sensation. "Because now I have something worth fighting for." But as sleep claimed them, a holographic alert flickered to life, a map of uncharted sectors pulsing with anomalous signals. The climax of the duel was merely a prelude, the true storm brewed, dramatic and unforeseen, drawing them into a web of galactic proportions, where love and peril danced on the edge of oblivion. The next morning brought no respite. Summoned to the council chambers, they faced an assembly of elders from across the alliance, beings of light, stone, and ether, their gazes piercing. "The pendant," intoned the eldest, a luminous entity from Lunara, "bears the mark of the void ancients. Your victory has triggered their awakening. Gasps rippled through the room, the revelation surprising even the most jaded. Kai's mind raced ancient precursors, long thought extinct, now roused by their actions. The thrill of discovery mixed with dread. Lyra squeezed his hand, her voice steady. Then we meet them head-on. The council nodded, appointing them as envoys, a dramatic twist, thrusting the pair into the heart of mystery. As they prepared for departure, curiosity about the ancients consumed them, benevolent guides or vengeful destroyers. Surprises awaited in the void, where their bond would be tested anew. Boarding their ship, a sleek vessel named Aurora, they launched into the stars, the arena's echoes fading behind. Kai piloted with expert ease, Lyra at his side, her presence a constant thrill. But as hyperspace engulfed them, sensors blared, a fleet of unknown vessels emerging from the rift. Ancients? Kai wondered aloud, heart pounding. Lyra's eyes widened. Or something worse. The confrontation loomed, dramatic and climactic, their story hurtling toward uncharted thrills. The confrontation loomed, dramatic and climactic, their story hurtling toward uncharted thrills. As the Aurora streaked through hyperspace, alarms blared like a symphony of doom, red lights flashing across the cockpit. Kai gripped the controls, his knuckles white, while Lyra scanned the sensors, her emerald eyes widening at the sight of the emerging fleet, sleek, obsidian ships that seemed to devour the stars around them, their hulls etched with glowing runes that pulsed like ancient hearts awakening from slumber. "Those aren't ancients," she breathed, her voice a mix of awe and dread. "They're scavengers?" "No, wait, the markings. By the stars, Kie, that's the Shadow Syndicate? Pirates of the Void, thought to be myth until now." Kai swerved the ship into evasive maneuvers, the engines groaning under the strain as he dodged the first volley of energy lances that streaked past like comets of fire. Drama escalated in waves. These weren't just any pirates, they were legends whispered in academy taverns, a rogue collective of exiled aliens who preyed on the fringes of known space, amassing forbidden tech from lost civilizations. And now, somehow, their duel had drawn these ghosts out of the shadows. "How the hell did our little arena spat wake these guys?" Kai muttered, banking hard to avoid a tractor beam that clawed at their shields. Lyra's tail lashed frantically behind her, brushing against his leg in a distracting tickle that almost made him laugh amid the chaos. The pendant. Zoltar's cheat device must have been a beacon. We crushed it, but the signal it called them home. The ship shuddered as a glancing hit weakened their aft shields, sparks flying from a console. Lyra leaped to the repair station, her fingers flying over holographic controls, but in her haste, she tripped over a loose panel courtesy of Kai's earlier human-style modifications, which involved duct tape from his Earth kit. She landed in a heap, her adaptive armor riding up awkwardly to expose a glimpse of her glowing skin, her small ears flattening in embarrassment. "Oof. Kai, your fixes are going to get us killed or at least mortified." She scrambled up, cheeks flushing a rare pink, and Kai couldn't help but chuckle, even as another blast rocked them. "Hey, that tape held asteroids together back home. Besides, princess, you look cute when you're flustered." The humor cut through the tension like a laser, lightening the moment just enough to keep panic at bay, but the drama surged as the lead syndicate ship hailed them, a holographic face materializing, a snarling, multi-eyed captain with tentacles for hair, his voice booming like thunder. "Surrender the earthling and the fox air! The artifact's power is ours!" Kai's laugh died in his throat, replaced by a steely resolve that screamed FY humans didn't back down from bullies, especially not cosmic ones. "Over my dead body," he growled, flipping the Aurora into a daring spin that threaded through the fleet like a needle through fabric. Lyra, back on her feet, activated the weapons array, her shots precise and deadly, vaporizing a drone that got too close. But the awkwardness piled on when their comms glitched mid-battle, broadcasting not their defiant response, but a snippet of last night's private whispers, Lyra's sultry murmur of "you're incredible," Kai echoing across the enemy channels. The pirate captain paused, his eyes blinking in confusion. "What in the void is this? Are you flirting during an ambush?" Mortification hit them like a warp core breach. Lyra's bioluminescence flared erratically, lighting the cockpit in strobing embarrassment, while Kai facebombed, muttering, "Great. Now we're the galaxy's most awkward power couple." But the slip-up bought them a precious second. The pirates hesitated, perhaps chuckling in their own twisted way, giving Kai time to punch the hyperdrive. The ship lurched forward, stars streaking into lines, but not before a final shot clipped their wing, sending them tumbling out of hyperspace into an uncharted nebula, a swirling maelstrom of gas and debris that hid them but also jammed their systems. Drama heightened as the Aurora spun wildly, gravity inverters failing, leaving them floating in zero-G, bumping into each other like pinballs in a cosmic arcade. Lyra collided with Kai mid-air, their bodies tangling in a weightless embrace that was equal parts romantic and ridiculous. Her white hair floated around them like a halo of chaos, her curves pressing against him in ways that stirred memories of their night together, but the timing couldn't have been worse. "Kai, stabilize us before we..." She yelped as they bounced off a bulkhead, her tail wrapping around his waist instinctively for anchor. He grabbed a handhold, pulling her close, their faces inches apart. "Before we what? Turn this into a zero-G tango," he quipped, trying to inject humor into the panic, but his voice cracked with the strain. The ship groaned, systems flickering back online, just enough to reveal the nebula's hidden peril: electromagnetic storms that could fry their electronics or worse, attract more unwanted guests. As stabilizers kicked in, they dropped to the floor in a heap, Lyra landing atop him with an oof that echoed her earlier tumble. She straddled him unintentionally, her hands on his chest, eyes locking in a moment of charged silence amid the drama. This is not how I pictured our next adventure," she admitted, a giggle escaping despite the fear, her ears twitching with awkward amusement. Kai grinned up at her, hands settling on her hips. "Hey, beats a boring council meeting. Though, if we're confessing, I didn't expect space pirates to crash our honeymoon phase." The humor diffused the tension, but the awkwardness lingered as alerts blared life support at 70%, engines overheating. They scrambled apart, Lyra smoothing her armor with feigned dignity, while Kai checked the scans, his mind racing. "We're hidden for now, but those syndicate goons won't give up. And that message about the true threat, this feels bigger than pirates." Drama built as they pieced together clues in the dim cockpit light. Lyra pulled up fragments from the pendant's data core, her fingers dancing over the console, but a surge from the nebula caused a holographic glitch, projecting not schematics, but a steamy replay of their med-bay kiss from earlier, lips locked, hands wandering. "Oh, stars, not again," Lyra exclaimed, swatting at the image like it was a pesky insect, her face burning. Kai burst out laughing, the sound booming in the confined space. "Our ship's got a sense of humor, or maybe it's jealous." He winked, pulling her into a quick hug to steady her, but the moment turned tender, heightening the emotional stakes. "Seriously, though, we're in this together, no more solo acts." They worked side by side, Kai's human ingenuity shining as he jury-rigged the engines with spare parts and that trusty duct tape, while Lyra's royal knowledge decoded the ancient runes. But awkward situations kept piling on. A sudden gravity fluctuation sent tools floating, one bonking Kahai on the head mid-repair. "Oh, see? Even the nebula's got it out for me," he grumbled, rubbing his forehead, eliciting a snort from Lyra. "Perhaps it's testing your legendary human resilience. Or just karma for that tape." Their banter lightened the dread, but the drama crested when scans revealed the syndicate closing in, their ships piercing the nebula's edge like predators scenting blood. With engines sputtering back to life, Kai plotted a desperate escape, a slingshot maneuver around a nearby pulsar, using its gravity to fling them to safety. "This could work or turn us into space confetti," he admitted, strapping in. Lyra buckled beside him, her hand finding his. "Then let's make it legendary." The ship accelerated, the pulsar looming like a fiery giant, radiation waves battering their shields. Tension mounted, sweat beading on their brows, but in a flash of humor, the comms crackled with a pirate transmission: "Surrender, lovebirds. Your broadcasts are entertaining, but the artifact calls." Lyra rolled her eyes. "Great, now we're interstellar celebrities." The maneuver worked barely. The Aurora shot out of the nebula like a bullet, leaving the syndicate scrambling in the pulsar's wake. But as they caught their breath, a new alert pinged a coordinates embedded in the pendant's data, leading to a hidden planetoid in the Void Ancient's domain. "This is it," Lyra whispered, excitement mingling with fear. "The true threat or our salvation." Kai squeezed her hand, the drama of their journey forging them closer, awkward mishaps and all. They set course, the ship humming steadily now, but rest was fleeting. In the quiet hours, Lyra pulled Kai to the observation deck, where stars wheeled by in hypnotic patterns. "After all this chaos I need normalcy," she said, her voice soft, but normalcy turned awkward when she attempted an Earth custom she'd read about cooking a meal with the replicator. The result? A blob of what was meant to be pasta, floating in zero-G residue from the earlier glitch. Ta-da! Human cuisine, she presented with mock pride, only for it to splatter across Kai's shirt. He stared, then doubled over laughing. "Princess, that's adorably disastrous. Here, let me show you." He guided her hands, their proximity reigniting sparks, turning the lesson into a playful tussle that ended with them kissing amid the mess. Yet, drama shadowed their levity. As the planetoid approached, sensors detected ruins teeming with energy signatures Guardians awakening, perhaps drawn by their intrusion. Lyra's bioluminescence flickered nervously, her tail curling around Kai's leg for comfort. "What if we're walking into a trap?" she voiced, vulnerability cracking her royal facade. Kai pulled her close, humor his shield. "Then we'll improvise. Humans are pros at turning traps into triumphs, usually with a side of awkward." But his words belied the thumping heart, the stakes skyrocketing. Landing on the planetoid was a ballet of peril, atmospheric storms buffeting the ship, ancient defenses scanning them like judgmental eyes. They touched down in a crater ringed by crystalline spires, the air thick with ozone and mystery. Stepping out in Envira suits, the awkwardness hit when Kai's boot snagged on a vine-like growth, sending him face first into the dust. "Graceful as ever," Lyra teased, helping him up, but her laughter faded as a holographic guardian materialized, a towering figure of light, its voice echoing intruders. "State your claim, or perish." Drama peaked as the guardian demanded a trial of worth, a puzzle labyrinth within the ruins, testing mind, body, and bond. "Fail, and the ancient's wrath consumes you," it intoned. Kai and Lyra exchanged glances, humor flickering in his eyes. "Another maze? At least this one might not broadcast our makeout sessions." She elbowed him playfully, but tension coiled tight as they entered, doors sealing behind. Inside, the labyrinth twisted reality corridors that looped endlessly, illusions of their deepest fears. Lyra faced visions of her throne usurped, while Kai relived Earth's lost colonies. But awkward humor saved them when a pressure plate triggered a cascade of glowing slime. It poured over Kai, coating him in sticky luminescence. "I look like a walking disco ball." He sputtered, slipping and sliding, Lyra bursting into giggles as she pulled him free. "My shining knight, literally." The levity broke the illusion's hold, allowing them to press on. Deeper in, the drama intensified with physical trials, chasms to leap, beams to dodge. Lyra's agility shone, but Kai's strength bridged gaps she couldn't alone. One awkward moment came when a narrowing tunnel forced them to squeeze through sideways, bodies pressed intimately, suits doing little to mute the heat. "This is intimate," Lyra quipped breathlessly. Kai smirked. "Romantic getaway, Nebula edition." Finally, at the core, a pedestal held a crystalline artifact, the true source of the ancient's power. But as they reached for it, the guardian reappeared, revealing a surprise. "You have proven worthy, but the syndicate approaches. Choose, wield the power, or let it sleep." Drama hung heavy, power that could end threats, but at what cost? Kai glanced at Lyra, humor in his voice amid the gravity. Decisions, decisions. Rock, paper, scissors. Their choice would define everything. Awkward bonds forging unbreakable steel in the fires of cosmic turmoil. Their choice would define everything. Awkward bonds forging unbreakable steel in the fires of cosmic turmoil. As the Guardian's holographic form flickered expectantly, Kai and Lyra stood side by side in the labyrinth's core, the crystalline artifact humming with an otherworldly energy that seemed to pulse in time with their racing hearts. The air was thick with the scent of ancient dust and ionized particles, the spires around them casting elongated shadows that danced like silent witnesses. "Wield it," Kai said finally, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision, "but not for conquest, for protection. We can't let the syndicate, or whatever else is out there, twist this power." Lyra nodded, her emerald eyes reflecting the artifact's glow, her hand slipping into his for reassurance. Together they reached out, fingers intertwining as they touched the crystal. A surge of warmth flooded through them, not destructive but harmonious, binding the artifact's essence to their will. The Guardian nodded approvingly. "Wise. The ancient's legacy is yours to safeguard. Go now, the storm approaches." The labyrinth dissolved around them in a swirl of light, depositing them back at the Aurora's landing site, just as the Syndicate's ships pierced the planetoid's atmosphere, dark silhouettes against the stormy skies. Alarms wailed from the ship, but with the artifact secured in Lyra's satchel, its power now a subtle shield around them, they sprinted aboard, Chi firing up the engines while Lyra calibrated the new defenses. The takeoff was a heart-pounding escape, lasers grazing their hull as they broke orbit, the artifact's energy weaving an invisible cloak that confounded the pursuers' sensors. "They're falling back," Lyra exclaimed, collapsing into the company pilot's seat, her chest heaving from the adrenaline. Kai glanced at her, a grin breaking through the tension. "Told you we'd make it legendary. Now, let's get to a safe haven before we celebrate properly." They charted a course to a neutral outpost in the Urandor sector, a hidden moon base known for its discretion, where weary travelers could recharge without prying eyes. The journey through hyperspace gave them a brief respite, the stars blurring into soothing streaks outside the viewport. But the close calls had left them both wired, emotions running high from the battles and discoveries. Lyra unbuckled first, standing to stretch, her adaptive suit clinging to her form in a way that reminded Kai of their stolen moments amid the chaos. "That artifact, it connected us somehow," she murmured, turning to him with a soft smile, her bioluminescence glowing faintly, casting a warm light in the dim cabin. Kai powered down the autopilot, rising to meet her, his hands finding her waist naturally. "Yeah, I felt it too. Like we're synced now more than before." The air between them thickened with unspoken longing, the ship's hum the only sound as they drew closer. Lyra's small ears twitched with anticipation, her white hair framing her face like a veil of starlight. She leaned in, her lips brushing his in a gentle kiss that quickly deepened, fueled by the relief of survival and the thrill of their shared power. Kai's arms wrapped around her, pulling her against him, feeling the steady rhythm of her heart mirroring his own. They moved toward the small quarters at the rear of the ship, clothes shedding along the way, in a trail of discarded armor and fabric, each piece a symbol of barriers falling away. The room was modest, a soft bunk, ambient lighting that adjusted to their moods, but in that moment, it felt like a sanctuary crafted just for them. Lyra guided him down onto the bed, her movements graceful and inviting, her porcelain skin illuminated by her inner glow that intensified with every touch. Kai's hands explored her curves with reverence, tracing paths that elicited soft sighs from her, their bodies aligning in a dance as old as the stars. She whispered his name like a secret, her fingers weaving through his hair, drawing him into her warmth. The connection from the artifact amplified everything, their emotions, their sensations making each caress feel electric, each shared breath a promise. They lost themselves in the intimacy, bodies moving in harmony, building to peaks of shared bliss that left them breathless and entwined. In the quiet aftermath, Lyra rested her head on his chest, her tail curling lazily around his leg, a content purr rumbling from her throat, a fox-like trait that always made Kai smile. "That was more than before," she said softly, her voice laced with wonder. Kai kissed her forehead, his fingers stroking her back. "The artifact's gift, maybe. Or just us, getting closer." They talked in hushed tones about their future, the threats still looming, but for now, the universe narrowed to this cocoon of affection. Yet, even in repose, Lyra's mind wandered to the artifact's deeper secrets. "It showed me visions during our moment, fragments of the ancients' history, alliances forged in passion, empires built on trust." Kai propped himself up on an elbow, curiosity sparking in his blue eyes. "Like us, humans and aliens, bridging gaps." She nodded, her glow pulsing gently. "Exactly. Perhaps that's why it chose us." Their conversation flowed into lighter territory, Kai sharing Earth tales of star-crossed lovers, Lyra countering with Zerathian legends of cosmic unions. Laughter mingled with lingering touches, reigniting sparks that led to another tender exploration, slower this time, savoring the connection that bound them beyond species or stars. Her hands roamed his form, appreciating the strength earned from Earth's trials, while he marveled at her ethereal beauty, each moment deepening their bond. As hyperspace carried them onward, they indulged in the closeness, bodies and souls intertwining in ways that healed the day's wounds. Lyra's bioluminescence synced with their rhythm, creating a private light show that danced across the walls, enhancing the intimacy without words. Kai held her through waves of pleasure, their shared release is a testament to the trust they'd built from May's partners to something profound. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets, her head nestled in the crook of his arm, discussing strategies for the council. "We'll present the artifact as a tool for peace," she suggested, her fingers tracing idle patterns on his skin, "and show them what unity looks like." But the ship's alerts soon intruded, signaling their approach to the moon base. They dressed reluctantly, stealing final kisses, the intimacy lingering like a warm afterglow. Docking went smoothly, the outpost's neutral guardians waving them through without question. They secured a private suite, the artifact hidden in a shielded case, and settled in for much-needed rest. Yet, the night's passion had awakened a hunger for more than strategy. As they unpacked, Lyra pulled Kai into the shower alcove, the steam rising around them like a veil. Under the warm cascade, they embraced again, water mingling with their touches, washing away the grime of battle while reigniting the fire within. Her skin slick and glowing, Lyra pressed against him, their kisses hungry yet tender, exploring each other with renewed fervor. Kai's hands slid over her, eliciting gasps that echoed in the confined space, their bodies moving in sync with the rhythm of the water. The moment built to a crescendo of shared ecstasy, leaving them leaning against the wall, breathless and laughing softly at the spontaneity. "You're insatiable," Ki teased, wrapping her in a towel. Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Only with you, earthling. You bring out the wild in me." Dried and dressed in casual robes provided by the base, they shared a meal replicated from Earth and Zerathian cuisines, a fusion that mirrored their relationship. Over bites of spicy noodles and glowing fruits, they planned their next move, the artifact's hum a constant companion. But conversation drifted back to personal realms, Lyra confessing vulnerabilities from her royal upbringing, Ki opening up about losses on Earth. Each revelation strengthened their connection, leading to quiet moments of affection on the suite's lounger, where touches turned intimate once more. Lyra straddled him gently, her robe slipping open to reveal her form, inviting his hands to explore. They moved together slowly, savoring the build-up, her glow intensifying as emotions peaked. Whispers of encouragement filled the air, their union a blend of passion and tenderness that culminated in mutual fulfillment, bodies trembling in harmony. Collapsing together, they held each other, the base's ambient sounds a lullaby. "I never thought I'd find this," Lyra admitted, her voice muffled against his neck. "A partner who sees me, not the crown." Kai stroked her hair, feeling the same. "And I never imagined the stars would lead me to you." Their night continued in cycles of talk and closeness, each intimate encounter deepening the trust, the artifact's influence making every sensation more vivid, every emotion more profound. By morning, they were refreshed, bonded in ways that prepared them for the trials ahead, the syndicate's shadow, the council's scrutiny. But as they prepared to depart, a message arrived from the council, urgent summons, hints of betrayal within. Drama stirred anew, but their night of connection had fortified them. Boarding the Aurora, hands linked, they faced the galaxy united, the intimacy of their bond a shield against the unknown. But as they prepared to depart, a message arrived from the council, urgent summons, hints of betrayal within. Drama stirred anew, but their night of connection had fortified them. Boarding the Aurora, hands linked, they faced the galaxy united, the intimacy of their bond a shield against the unknown. The ship's engines purred to life, hyperspace folding around them like a familiar embrace, carrying them toward the heart of the Alliance's citadel on Oralis, a glittering megastructure, orbiting a binary star system, where decisions shaped the fates of worlds. Lyra leaned back in her seat, her white hair catching the console lights, her small ears perked with a mix of resolve and lingering warmth from their time on the moon base. "The council will see reason," she said, her voice steady, fingers tracing absent patterns on Kai's arm. "With the artifact we hold proof of the ancients' will unity, not division." Kai nodded, his blue eyes fixed on the navigation display, but a nagging unease tugged at him, like an itch in the back of his mind. The message had been terse, encrypted with royal codes, mentioning internal fractures and immediate return. Betrayal? From whom? He pushed the thought aside, focusing on the woman beside him, the way her presence grounded him in this vast, uncaring cosmos. As the hours slipped by in the warp, they shared quiet moments, Lyra recounting tales of Zerathia's festivals, where dancers wove spells under auroral skies, and Kai spinning yarns of Earth's resilient spirit, From mountain climbers defying gravity to lovers parting across oceans only to reunite. Their laughter filled the cabin, a balm against the encroaching shadows, but the artifact in its case hummed softly, as if whispering secrets yet untold. Lyra placed her hand on it occasionally, feeling its pulse sync with her own, a reminder of the power they'd claimed. "It feels alive," she murmured one evening, as they dimmed the lights for rest. Kai pulled her close on the bunk, his body molding to hers in that effortless way they'd discovered, his kisses trailing along her neck, reigniting the fire that never truly faded. Their lovemaking was gentle this time, a slow exploration under the artificial stars of the viewport, bodies moving in rhythm with the ship's subtle vibrations, each touch an affirmation of their alliance. She arched into him, her glow illuminating their shared bliss, and in the afterglow, they whispered plans for a future where humans and Zerathians stood as equals. But the tranquility shattered as they dropped out of hyperspace near Orales. The citadel loomed ahead, a colossal ring of crystalline spires intertwined with energy conduits, bustling with shuttles from 100 worlds. Yet, something was off. The usual escort patrols were absent, and comms chatter buzzed with an undercurrent of urgency. "Aurora, this is Citadel Control," crackled a voice over the speakers. "Proceed to docking bay Theta 9. Council awaits. No deviations." Lyra frowned, her tail curling tensely. "Theta 9? That's the secure wing used for high-threat sessions." Kai's instincts flared. Back on Earth, he'd learned to trust the quiet before the storm. They docked smoothly, the bay's clamps engaging with a metallic thud, but as the hatch opened, a squad of armored guards awaited, not the ceremonial kind, but elite enforcers with plasma rifles humming at low charge. Princess Lyra, Earthling Kai, their leader intoned, a faceless helm masking any emotion. "You are to surrender the artifact and accompany us." Lyra stepped forward, her posture regal, bioluminescence flaring in defiance. "On whose authority?" "The council summoned us." The guard hesitated, then gestured. "The council's orders. There have been developments." Kai's hand hovered near his sidearm, hidden in his jumpsuit, but Lyra's subtle shake of her head stayed him. They complied, handing over the case under watchful eyes, and were escorted through labyrinthine corridors lined with holographic murals of galactic history. Battles won, alliances forged. The air grew heavier, scented with the ozone of active shields, and Kai's mind raced. Betrayal within, the message had said. Was this a trap? Lyra's fingers brushed his reassuringly, a silent promise amid the mounting tension. They entered the Grand Chamber, a vast dome where counselors from every allied world floated in anti-grav thrones, their forms a tapestry of diversity. Luminous beings from Lunara, scaled diplomats from Xandor, even a contingent from Nethuria with their whispering vines. At the center, elevated on a dais, sat High Chancellor Eloin, an ethereal figure from Solvane, her form shifting like liquid silver, eyes like black holes absorbing all light. Advisor Thorn stood beside her, his scales a neutral gray, expression unreadable. "Princess Lyra," Eloin began, her voice echoing like distant thunder, "you bring the ancients' legacy. But revelations have come to light, revelations that demand clarity." The artifact was placed on a scanning pedestal, its hum amplifying, projecting holographic data streams that danced in the air. Kai and Lyra stood before them, the weight of 1,000 gazes pressing down. "What revelations?" Lyra demanded, her voice cutting through the murmurs. Eloin gestured, and the holograms coalesced into images: ancient ruins, genetic maps, timelines stretching back eons. The pendant Zoltar wielded was no mere cheat, it was a key, unlocked by your actions. The ancients, they were not aliens as we thought. The chamber fell silent, anticipation thick as nebula fog. Thorn stepped forward, his multifaceted eyes glinting. "They were humans." The words landed like a supernova, shock rippling through the assembly. Kai froze, his world tilting on its axis. Humans. The ancients, creators of galaxies spanning tech, seeders of life across the stars, his kind. Lyra turned to him, her emerald eyes wide with astonishment, her hand tightening on his. "What, how?" she whispered. Eloin continued, the holograms illustrating primitive Earth, cataclysms driving humanity to the stars millennia ago, advanced beyond recognition, seeding worlds like Zerathia with life engineered from their own DNA. Your species, Kai, are the progenitors. The Deathworld Terra was their cradle, its harshness forging unbreakable will. But they vanished, leaving guardians like the artifact to awaken when descendants proved worthy. Murmurs erupted into chaos, counselors arguing, some in denial, others in awe. Kai's mind reeled. All his life, humans were the underdogs, scraping by on the galactic fringe, dismissed as fragile primitives. But this flipped everything. HFY incarnate, on a cosmic scale. Why hide it? He managed, voice hoarse. Thorn's scales shifted to a triumphant hue. To test evolution. The ancients engineered diversity fox-like traits in Zerathians for cunning, strength in Xandorians, but always with human resilience at the core. Your bond with the princess activated the artifact, confirming the lineage. You, Kai, carry pure ancient blood, undetected until now. The twist deepened as the holograms focused on Kai's genetic scan, pulled from Academy records markers matching ancient archives, explaining his improbable survivals, his intuitive grasp of tech. Lyra stared at him, not with fear, but wonder, her glow pulsing brighter. You're their heir. The chamber hushed as Aloan nodded. Indeed. But this revelation invites peril. The Syndicate, they are remnants of a faction that rebelled against the ancients, seeking to erase human legacy. Zoltar's pendant was their bait, drawing you out. Drama surged as alarms blared, intrusion detected. Viewports cracked open to space, revealing Syndicate ships swarming the Citadel, weapons charging. They followed you. Thorn accused, but Kai's sharpened instincts caught the lie in his eyes, the advisor's scales flickering unnaturally. In a flash, the powerful twist unveiled itself. Thorn was the betrayer. You, Kai growled, piecing it together. You planted the pendant on Zoltar, signaled the Syndicate. Why? Thorn's facade crumbled, his form shifting, not Dravixian, but a holographic disguise melting away to reveal a Syndicate operative, tentacles writhing, eyes glowing with malice. To claim the power, humans hoarded it, now it ends. Chaos exploded, counselors scrambling, guards firing as Thorn lunged for the artifact. Lyra moved like lightning, her energy blade igniting, clashing with his extended limbs in a sparks-flying duel. Kai dove in, human grit amplified by newfound heritage, the artifact responding to his touch, surging energy through him like adrenaline on steroids. He felt it, ancient knowledge flooding his mind, strategies unfolding like unlocked memories. Lyra, flank left, he shouted, improvising a takedown that pinned Thorn, the advisor's disguise fully shattering to reveal a grotesque amalgam of stolen tech and alien flesh. The Citadel shook under Syndicate bombardment, shields faltering. But Kai, empowered, interfaced with the artifact mentally, broadcasting a counter-signal that jammed enemy weapons, buying time. Counselors rallied, Eloan activating defenses. The air commands, she proclaimed, the assembly bowing in stunned reverence. Lyra fought beside him, their bond the anchor, her cunning complementing his surging power. Together, they repelled Thorn, binding him with energy cuffs, his defeat a humiliating twist for the once trusted advisor. As the battle raged outside, Kai accessed deeper ancient archives via the artifact visions of his ancestors, humans who transcended mortality, scattering across stars to guide evolution. The surprise deepened. Earth wasn't a backwater, it was the hidden forge, humans the unsung architects. All this time, Kay murmured to Lyra amid the fray, dodging a collapsing beam, we were the gods. She smiled fiercely, pulling him into a quick, passionate kiss that sealed their fates. And now, we reclaim it. The twist propelled them into action. Kai, with artifact-enhanced abilities, piloted a fighter squadron remotely, his mind linking to ships like extensions of his body. Syndicate vessels crumpled under coordinated strikes, human ingenuity now amplified, proving unstoppable. Lyra coordinated from the chamber, her royal commands uniting the council in an unprecedented alliance. The betrayal exposed, loyalties realigned, the galaxy teetered on rebirth, but the revelations weren't done. As Thorn was dragged away, spitting curses, he laughed maniacally. You think this ends it? The ancient's true secret, it's in you, earthling. Activation requires sacrifice. Kai felt a chill, the artifact whispering warnings of a cost, a balance to its power. What sacrifice? His humanity? Their bond? The surprise lingered, a shadow over triumph, as they turned to the stars, the battle won but the war just beginning. In the aftermath, as repairs hummed and allies pledged fealty, Kai and Lyra stole a moment on a balcony, overlooking the binary suns. Her hand in his, the artifact between them, glowing with promise. Whatever comes, she vowed, we face it as one. He nodded. But the twist's echo haunted him, surprising depths to his blood, unforeseen prices. Yet, in her eyes he found strength, their love the ultimate HFY, humanity's heart, conquering all. The council reconvened, hailing Kai as the awakened heir, propositions flooding in alliances, technologies unlocked, but whispers of dissent brewed in distant sectors, syndicate remnants plotting. Lyra's kingdom called, her throne now intertwined with his legacy. They departed Orales aboard the Aurora, upgraded with ancient mods, charting a course homeward. En route, the artifact revealed more personalized visions for Kai, his family on Earth, unknowingly carrying dormant genes. For Lyra, her lineage traced to ancient experiments, making her the perfect match. Intimacy wove through their journey, bodies and minds connecting in ways deepened by the twist. In the quiet of hyperspace, they explored each other anew, her glow syncing with his newfound energy, creating sensations that transcended the physical waves of shared ecstasy that left them breathless, bonded on a cellular level. "You're more than human now," she whispered post-bliss, tracing his skin. "But still mine." He held her, the surprise of his heritage a gift and burden, their future a canvas of stars. Yet, as Zerathia approached, a final twist whispered from the artifact. Thorn's words, echoed true. The full awakening demanded a choice. Kai's power could save the galaxy, but at the cost of his mortality or hers. The surprise hit like a black hole's pull, leaving him staring into the void, decision looming. What would he choose? The listener held breath, the story twisting into uncharted depths. Yet, as Zerathia approached, a final twist whispered from the artifact. Thorn's words echoed true. The full awakening demanded a choice. Kai's power could save the galaxy, but at the cost of his mortality or hers. The surprise hit like a black hole's pull, leaving him staring into the void, decision looming. What would he choose? The listener held breath, the story twisting into uncharted depths. Kai stood frozen on the Aurora's bridge, the artifact's hum vibrating through his palm like a heartbeat with ulterior motives, its crystalline surface cool yet insistent, as if urging him to confront the impossible. Zerathia's azure orb swelled in the viewport, continents swirling with bioluminescent storms that mirrored the turmoil in his chest. Lyra noticed his silence first, her emerald eyes narrowing as she turned from the navigation console, her white hair catching the starlight in a way that made her look ethereal, untouchable yet so very human in her concern. "Kai? You've gone quiet. What's the artifact showing you now?" Her voice was soft, laced with that royal poise, but her small ears twitched with unspoken worry, her tail curling around her leg like a question mark. He hesitated, the weight of the revelation pressing down like increased gravity, drama building in the confined space of the ship. "How do you tell the woman you love that saving everything might mean losing one of you?" Kai set the artifact down gently, as if it might shatter under his grip, and met her gaze. "It's complicated. The full power, the ancient stuff, it's not free." Thorn wasn't bluffing. To activate it completely, to stop threats like the Syndicate for good, it demands a life force. "Mine or yours?" The words tumbled out, awkward in their bluntness, hanging in the air like a misfired plasma bolt. Lyra's bioluminescence dimmed, her porcelain skin paling further, but she didn't recoil. Instead, she stepped closer, her hand reaching for his. "A choice. Between us? That's not fair." Her voice cracked slightly, heightening the emotional stakes, the galaxy's fate suddenly personal, intimate, a dagger twisted in their budding legend. The ship jolted as they entered Zerathia's atmosphere, turbulence shaking the hull like fate's impatient knock, amplifying the drama as clouds whipped past the viewport. Kai pulled her into an embrace, their bodies fitting together seamlessly, but the moment turned awkward when the artifact, still on the console, flared brightly, projecting a holographic simulation of the choice visions of Ki fading into energy, or Lyra dissolving into light, both scenarios ending with the galaxy bathed in peace. "Whoa, bad timing," Ki yelped, swatting at the hologram like it was an intrusive bug, his face flushing as the images lingered a second too long, showing their entwined forms in the sacrifice process almost romantic, if not for the doom. Lyra burst into a nervous laugh, her glow flickering erratically. The ancients had a twisted sense of humor. "Projecting our potential demises like a bad holodrama? If we're going out, at least make it epic, not this slideshow." Her quip lightened the heaviness just enough, but the drama surged as landing protocols engaged. The Aurora descending toward the royal palace, a sprawling complex of crystalline towers intertwined with living vines, glowing under the planet's twin suns. Guards awaited on the landing pad, their armor shimmering with embedded tech, but as Kai and Lyra disembarked, hand in hand, The welcoming committee included Lyra's mother, Queen Vexa, a formidable figure with silver-streaked white hair and eyes like polished emeralds, her presence commanding yet laced with maternal scrutiny. "Daughter," she intoned, her voice echoing across the pad, "you return with company." And whispers of ancient powers. Her gaze locked on Kai, appraising him like a specimen under a scanner, heightening the awkwardness as courtiers murmured behind her, tales swishing in gossip. Kai shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware of his rumpled jumpsuit amid the opulent robe's human casual clashing with alien elegance. "Your Majesty," he bowed awkwardly, nearly tripping over a vine that seemed to snake toward him playfully. "Honored to be here. Though, the artifact might have some family unfriendly news." Queen Vexa's ears perked, her tail lashing once a sign of intrigue or irritation, Key couldn't tell. Lyra stepped forward, explaining the revelations in hurried tones, but the drama escalated when the artifact, secured in Kai's satchel, began humming loudly, projecting faint auras around them both, marking them as chosen. Courtiers gasped, one dropping a ceremonial orb that rolled comically toward Kai's feet. He kicked it back instinctively, like a soccer ball, only for it to bounce off a guard's shin and shatter in a spray of glittering dust. "Oops," Key muttered, face heating as laughter rippled through the crowd, awkward humor diffusing the tension. But Queen Vexa's lips twitched in reluctant amusement. "An earthling's grace. Come, we discuss this indoors. Before you dismantle the palace." They were ushered into the throne room, a vast chamber where bioluminescent waterfalls cascaded down walls of living crystal, the air scented with wildflowers and ozone. Holo displays flickered with reports of syndicate movements, fleets amassing on the fringes, drawn by the artifact's signal. Drama thickened as advisors debated, voices rising in a cacophony of alien tongues, but Kai's ancient heritage made him the unwitting center, translations flooding his mind unbidden. "They're saying we need to activate it now," he whispered to Lyra, but his voice carried awkwardly loud due to some acoustic quirk, silencing the room. All eyes turned, and in the hush, his stomach growled thunderously, earth hunger striking at the worst moment. Lyra stifled a giggle, whispering back, "Perfect timing, hero. Want a snack before saving the universe?" Her humor was a lifeline, but the queen's stern gaze pinned him. "The air speaks truth. But at what cost?" The council delved deeper, projections showing syndicate armadas closing in, their ships like dark thorns piercing the stars. Kai and Lyra stood before them, the artifact on a pedestal, its choice looming like a guillotine. Drama heightened as Queen Vexa revealed her own secret ancient texts, foretelling a bonded pair who could share the burden. Diluting the sacrifice, but it required a ritual union, public and binding, blending their essences in a ceremony that bordered on intimate spectacle. "You must wed under the auroras," she declared, her voice unwavering. Lyra's cheeks flushed, her glow pulsing, while Kai blinked in surprise. Wed, like marriage now. The awkwardness piqued him, a scruffy Earth pilot marrying a fox princess in front of her entire court. He scratched his head, chuckling nervously. "Well, I always wanted a destination wedding. Though, space pirates as uninvited guests might crash the party." Laughter echoed from a few advisors, lightening the grave mood, but the drama pressed on as preparations began in a whirlwind. Tailors swarmed Kai, fitting him in a hybrid suit Earth-style jacket fused with Zerathian silks that hugged his form a bit too snugly, eliciting a yelp when a pin pricked him. "Easy there. I'm not a pincushion," he quipped, hopping on one foot as Lyra watched, her own gown a masterpiece of flowing fabrics that accentuated her curves, her ears twitching with amusement. "You clean up well, Earthling. Though, that jacket makes you look like a cosmic cowboy." Her tease drew a grin from him, but beneath it, tension simmered. The ritual's intimacy, broadcast to the kingdom for transparency, added layers of awkward exposure. Public wedding night vibes. Ancients really knew how to amp the drama, Chi muttered, pulling her aside for a stolen kiss that grounded them amid the chaos. As night fell, auroras painting the skies in vibrant ribbons, the ceremony unfolded on a grand platform overlooking the palace gardens. Thousands gathered, holocams capturing every moment, heightening the stakes to interstellar levels. Kai and Lyra stood before the queen, hands joined over the artifact, vows exchanged in a blend of languages, his simple earth promises of loyalty and love, hers poetic Zerathian oaths of eternal alliance. But awkward humor struck when the ritual required a essence merge, a chaste yet symbolic embrace that involved the artifact channeling energy through them, causing their bioluminescence now shared via Kai's heritage to flare wildly, lighting up the night like a fireworks mishap. "Whoa, feels like I'm plugged into a star," Kai exclaimed, his body tingling, drawing chuckles from the crowd as Lyra's tail accidentally wrapped around his leg in the surge, nearly toppling them both. "Steady my air," she laughed breathlessly, her eyes sparkling with a mix of fear and joy. The merge worked partially, the artifact's power amplified without full sacrifice, sharing the burden between them, but warnings flickered incomplete. Temporary, the true choice deferred but not denied. Drama crested as Syndicate scouts breached orbit, alarms blaring mid-ceremony. "They're here!" an advisor shouted, panic rippling through the assembly. Kai, empowered, summoned defensive fields from the artifact, shields blooming like ethereal domes over the palace. But in the chaos, a stray energy pulse from the merge backfired, zapping a nearby fountain into a geyser that soaked the front row of dignitaries including Queen Vexa, who sputtered in undignified surprise. "Ancient tech with a splash zone." "Perfect," Kai deadpanned, helping Lyra rally the guards while stifling laughter at the Queen's drenched regalia. The battle erupted, Syndicate dropships descending like meteors, lasers streaking the auroral skies. Kai and Lyra fought side by side, his ancient abilities allowing him to predict enemy moves, her cunning directing counterstrikes. Drama intensified with each clash ships exploding in fiery blooms, ground forces clashing in the gardens. Kai improvised a shield bash that sent a pirate tumbling into a bioluminescent pond, emerging covered in glowing algae like a walking lantern. New fashion trend. Lyra quipped mid-duel, her blade slicing through an assailant's armor. The humor kept them sharp, but the awkwardness returned when the artifact's energy surged uncontrollably, linking their minds mid-fight, sharing thoughts, sensations, even a flashback to their intimate moments, broadcasting faint echoes to nearby comms. "Not now," Kai groaned, face red as guards exchanged puzzled glances, but it synced their attacks perfectly, turning the tide. As the last Syndicate ship fled, smoking and defeated, the palace cheered, the ritual's success forging a fragile peace. But the deferred choice loomed, drama unresolved, Kai's mortality or hers, a shadow over their union. Lyra pulled him close amid the debris, her glow steady now. "We'll find another way," she vowed, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of victory and uncertainty. Queen Vexa approached, dripping but dignified, a rare smile cracking her facade. "Welcome to the family, son. Though next time, aim the fountains elsewhere." Kai chuckled, the humor a bridge over the abyss, as they faced the stars together, the galaxy's fate intertwined with their hearts. Repairs began under the fading auroras, advisors buzzing with strategies to fortify against future threats. Kai and Lyra retreated to her chambers for a moment's peace, the artifact quiescent on a table. But drama whispered anew when it pulsed, revealing hidden clauses. The merge had extended their lifespans, but required periodic renewals, intimate rituals to sustain the bond. "Renewals, like maintenance dates?" Kai asked, eyebrow raised, the awkward implication hanging. Lyra's eyes twinkled. "Think of it as cosmic homework. With benefits." They laughed, collapsing onto the bed, the humor easing the weight, but the choice's shadow lingered, heightening every touch. Morning brought envoys from allied worlds, pledging support to the ancient heir and his consort, but awkward situations piled on as Kie navigated royal protocols, bowing too low and knocking over a vase, or mispronouncing a diplomat's name in a way that sounded like an Earth swear. "Sorry, Ambassador Florg meant no offense." He apologized, Lyra hiding her smile behind her hand. The humor humanized him, endearing him to the court, but drama escalated with intelligence reports, Syndicate leaders plotting a counterstrike, targeting Earth to sever Kai's roots. They mobilized, Kai interfacing with the artifact to upgrade Zerathia's defenses, but an overload caused a city-wide glow, everyone's bioluminescence flaring awkwardly, leading to a planet-wide light show that disrupted sleep cycles. "My bad," Kai admitted sheepishly as complaints flooded in. "Turn the kingdom into a rave." Lyra shook her head, amused. "At least it's festive." Yet, beneath the levity, tension built, the choice unavoidable, Syndicate closing in. In a strategy session, Queen Vexa proposed a daring plan: lure the enemy to a neutral zone, using the artifact as bait. But it required Kai to feign vulnerability, drawing them out. "Risky," Lyra protested, her hand on his arm. Kai nodded, drama coiling tight. But necessary. Let's end this. Preparations turned awkward when training simulations glitched, projecting holographic enemies that looked suspiciously like court jesters, leading to slapstick battles that had everyone in stitches. "Take that, clown pirate!" Kai shouted, defeating one with a virtual pie to the face. As the trap set, the galaxy held its breath, Kai and Lyra at the center, drama at its peak, awkward bonds their secret weapon, humor the spark that ignited hope. As the trap set, the galaxy held its breath, Kai and Lyra at the center, drama at its peak, awkward bonds their secret weapon, humor the spark that ignited hope. The neutral zone they'd chosen was a desolate asteroid field in the outer rim of Kitharin, a graveyard of shattered worlds where gravity played tricks and debris fields hid ambushes like old secrets. The Aurora hung in the void like a baited hook, its engines powered down to a whisper, the artifact's glow muted but pulsing with restrained power. Kai stood on the bridge, his enhanced senses courtesy of his ancient heritage picking up the faint distortions of approaching ships, while Lyra monitored the comms, her emerald eyes sharp, her tail swishing in rhythmic anticipation. "They're coming," she said softly, her hand finding his, a simple touch that carried the weight of their merged essences, the ritual's energy still humming between them like an unspoken vow. Kai squeezed back, a small smile tugging at his lips despite the storm brewing. "Good, let's give them a show they won't forget. And hey, if things go south, at least our wedding made headlines. Human heir weds fox princess, saves galaxy maybe." The humor was their armor, lightening the gravity of the moment as syndicate vessels materialized from the shadows, dozens of them, sleek and predatory, their hulls scarred from countless raids, weapons arrays glowing with malevolent intent. The lead ship, a behemoth commanded by the syndicate's overlord, a cybernetic abomination named Vorax, hailed them immediately, his voice a synthesized growl that echoed through the Aurora's speakers. "The heir and his pet. Surrender the artifact, and your deaths will be swift." Lyra's bioluminescence flared in defiance, her royal fire undimmed. "Swift, how generous. But we've got a counteroffer: turn tail, or become space dust." Vorax's laughter boomed, mechanical and hollow, as his fleet advanced, lasers priming for the kill. The battle ignited in a blaze of light and fury, drama unfolding like a cosmic opera. Kai activated the artifact's partial power, channeling it through the Aurora's system's shields blooming into impenetrable barriers, weapons enhanced to slice through enemy armor like butter. But the Syndicate was relentless, their ships swarming like angry hornets, exploiting the asteroid field's chaos. One vessel clipped the Aurora's wing, sending sparks flying across the bridge, and Kai tumbled into Lyra, their bodies colliding in a tangle of limbs amid the alarms. "Oof, sorry princess, didn't mean to sweep you off your feet mid-apocalypse," he quipped, helping her up with a grin that masked the pain in his side. She rolled her eyes, but her lips curved in amusement, firing back a shot from the console that vaporized the attacker. "Save the romance for after we win, Earthling. Though, you're cute when you're clumsy." Their banter fueled the fight, turning peril into partnership. Lyra's cunning directed evasive maneuvers, weaving through debris while Kai's ancient intuition predicted enemy patterns, his mind linked to the artifact like an extension of his will. Together, they dismantled the fleet piece by piece, luring ships into gravity wells that crushed them, hacking drones to turn against their masters. But Vorax's flagship closed in, its massive cannons charging for a devastating blow. Drama peaked as the artifact whispered its ultimatum again. Full activation required the choice, the sacrifice, to unleash power enough to end this once and for all. Kai felt it pulling at him, a vortex of energy demanding payment, his life force or hers, to stabilize the galaxy's fragile peace. In the heat of the clash, as lasers grazed their hull and systems flickered, Kai pulled Lyra close, the ship rocking around them. "I can't lose you," he said, voice raw with emotion, his blue eyes locking onto hers amid the chaos. Her glow softened, tears glistening in her emerald depths, her small ears folding back in vulnerability. "And I can't watch you fade, there has to be another way." The artifact hummed louder, visions flooding their shared mind, ancient memories of similar crossroads, where love defied the cost, where bonds transcended loss. In a flash of insight, amplified by their merge, Kai saw it: the ritual hadn't just shared the burden, it had created a conduit. Together, he realized aloud, pulling her hand to the artifact, "Not one or the other, us. Our essences combined, no full sacrifice, just us giving a piece equally. It was a gamble, awkward in its desperation, but Lyra nodded, trust shining through her fear. As Vorax's cannon fired a beam of pure destruction hurtling toward them, they pressed their palms to the crystal, willing their merged life forces into it. Energy surged, not devouring one but drawing from both a shared spark that ignited the artifact's core. The ship trembled, power exploding outward in a wave of light that enveloped the Syndicate fleet. Ships froze, systems overloading, Vorax's roar turning to static as his vessel imploded in a silent bloom of debris. The wave rippled across the stars, neutralizing threats, sealing rifts, restoring balance without claiming a single life wholly. Kai and Lyra collapsed against each other, weakened but alive, the artifact dimming to a gentle pulse, its demand satisfied by their unity. In the quiet aftermath, as allied reinforcements arrived, ships from Zerathia, Orala's even Earth, drawn by the artifact's beacon, the galaxy exhaled. The Syndicate shattered, remnants scattering to the void, their era of terror ended. Kai and Lyra stood on the Aurora's battered bridge, watching the stars reclaim their peace, her head resting on his shoulder, their glows sinking in a soft, harmonious rhythm. "We did it," she whispered, her voice thick with relief, fingers interlacing with his. He kissed her forehead, feeling the subtle drain their lifespans shortened slightly, a price paid in years but gained in depth. Yeah, and we didn't even need a dramatic monologue. Though, if Hollywood back home hears about this, they'll turn it into a blockbuster humanity's heir, love conquers the cosmos. She laughed, the sound like music in the stillness, pulling him into a deeper embrace that reignited the fire between them. Their lips met, tender at first, then hungry, bodies pressing close amid the wreckage, celebrating survival in the most human, most alive way. Clothes shed in hurried passion, they found solace in each other, her curves yielding to his touch, his strength enveloping her. The intimacy was profound, amplified by their bond, each caress a reminder of what they'd almost lost, building to waves of shared ecstasy that left them breathless, entwined under the viewport's starry gaze. "I love you," Kai murmured against her skin, tracing the lines of her glow. "Beyond stars, beyond choices." Lyra's eyes sparkled, her tail curling possessively around him. "And I you, my heir, my equal." Word spread like wildfire across the alliance, the ancient heir and his consort had triumphed, not through sacrifice, but through love's defiance. Earth, once dismissed, became a beacon humans hailed as the galaxy's hidden strength, their primitive resilience the foundation of all. Kai's family on Terra received honors, colonies thriving under new tech shared from the artifact. Zerathia opened its borders, fox-like grace blending with human grit in festivals that celebrated their union. Queen Vexa, ever the pragmatist, welcomed Ki fully, her initial scrutiny melting into pride. "You two have rewritten the stars," she admitted during a grand banquet, raising a toast amid cheers. Though she couldn't resist a wry smile at Kai's awkward fumble with a ceremonial goblet, spilling nectar that turned into an impromptu light show. "Even in victory, you keep us on our toes." Years unfolded in a tapestry of peace and adventure. Kai and Lyra traveled the stars, the Aurora their home, unlocking ancient secrets that healed worlds, curing plagues on Lunara, forging pacts on Xandor, even bridging rifts with reformed Syndicate holdouts. Their bond deepened with time, intimacies shared under alien skies, her glow and his spirit creating moments of pure wonder. Children came eventually, hybrids of human tenacity and Zerathian elegance, small ears and bright eyes carrying the legacy forward, playing in palace gardens where vines bloomed eternally. But the artifact's price lingered softly, a reminder in their slightly quicker fatigue, their hair graying a touch sooner. It wasn't a curse, though merely a nudge to savor every moment. On quiet nights, they'd sit on that same balcony where their journey had pivoted, watching Aurora's dance. "No regrets?" Lyra would ask, her head on his lap. Kai would smile, fingers in her white hair. "None. We chose us, and that's the best ending any story could have." As empires rose and fell in the distant cosmos, their tale became legend, the earthling who rediscovered his roots, the princess who chose heart over crown, together proving that humanity's greatest fuck. Yeah, wasn't in power alone, but in the unbreakable threads of connection. The stars watched on, eternal and approving, as Kai and Lyra lived out their days in harmonious blaze, a good ending not of closure but of endless possibility. In the end, It wasn't the battles or the artifacts that defined them, it was the quiet choices, the shared laughs amid chaos, the touches that bridged worlds. And as the galaxy spun on, their love echoed through it, a beacon for all who dared to reach beyond the void.